What is puberty? I hope you have some sort of an answer to this question, but in case you don't, the technical definition is the stage of life when the reproductive system matures and people become physically capable of having children. So what does it all mean? I understand this is a big one. Giggles happen. Some of these things I'm going to talk about and you're going to say that's gross or that's weird or I don't know why she's talking about these things. Or if you're like one person who responded to my Google form, you're going to say that you're going to bleach your brain clean so you forget all of this. But the thing is, like I mentioned before, puberty is your life. It is 100% relevant to you right now. So it's super important that you're learning some of these things if you don't already know them. And judging by some of the questions I got, some of you don't know any of this. So it's important for us to talk about it. As always, ask questions if you are unsure. Ask. That Google form, you're allowed to have more than one submission on it. So ask questions if you have them. Don't be afraid. There's no such thing as a dumb question. There's no such thing as a bad question. If it's something that you want to know about, ask it. Like you just saw on that Google slide, puberty is the body's way of getting ready to be able to produce a child. So some of you asked yesterday, how come people start going through puberty at like 13? It's the way it is. This is not to say that individuals who are 13 and 14 and who have their periods or who have started going through puberty should be having children. It's just the biological way that the body is getting ready. So, biologically speaking, and science speaking, and continuing a species speaking, people go through puberty in order to be able to have children, to produce offspring, to have another generation of people. So a lot of the things that go on in the body are ways to get the body ready to be able to have a child. The primary causes for puberty are, in males, testosterone is released due to signals from the pituitary gland, which is in your brain, and causes the production of sperm by the testes. Testosterone is a hormone. It's released from the testes where it's produced, and it tells the body that it's time to start making sperm. In females, estrogen is released due to signals from the pituitary gland, and eggs become mature and ovulation occurs. One thing I want to mention is that men produce sperm while women are born with all the eggs they will ever have. And during puberty, a female's body will start to release eggs to help them be able to have a baby. Because in order to have a baby, there has to be an egg and a sperm. If you watched the video yesterday, you found out that puberty kind of happens for all people at all paces. So I want you to know, first and foremost, that wherever or however your body decides it's time to go through puberty is what nature intended for your body. I use a lot of references to my friend or someone I know or someone I was in high school in this unit because I'm only one person and I only had one experience with puberty. But other people have other experiences, and being able to share those and how they relate to each other can help us to understand different things. The video also mentioned that typically speaking, girls tend to start puberty before boys. I have a friend who started her period, which is a big indicator of the beginning of puberty, started her period when she was in 4th grade. I have a girl that I went to high school with, that I played volleyball with in high school, that didn't get her period until we were in 11th grade. So 4th grade to 11th grade is a really huge gap. If you think about typically 4th graders are between 9 and 10, and typically 11th graders are between 16 and 17, maybe even 18. So that's a huge gap. But that doesn't mean that one of their bodies was wrong or one of their bodies was too slow. I heard the term or saw the term late bloomer coming up. Some people just don't go through puberty until a little bit later, and that's okay. There are going to be some of you, and the best part is that you're not in class to look at each other right now, but there are some people who have started puberty who have maybe girls who have had their menstrual cycle for a few years. There are probably boys in our class that we can think of, because lots of things that boys go through puberty, we start to see outward signs. Maybe we have male classmates who have beards already. Maybe we have male classmates who have chest hair already. I always tell stories about developing, different bodies develop different ways and different times. I have one brother of my two little brothers, I have one brother that's just younger than me, and he, oh geez, he thought that he needed to shave because that's what boys do. Boys have to shave their beards, right? To this day, he's 30 years old, and he has like 3 chin hairs, and that's it. Like, if he didn't shave all of quarantine time, or like since we've not been in school, you wouldn't be able to tell because he would have 3 little strings of hair. I have another brother, the younger one, that if he goes like 2 days without shaving, he has a big beard like Mr. Brown does. And like, they're brothers, they share genetics, but for some reason, the way that DNA worked out for both of them is a little different. Similar things to that, how deep a voice gets for males, how broad someone's shoulders get, how muscular, how much body fat a person have can sometimes be dictated by genetics. For women, how much their breasts grow, how much their hips widen can both be things that are genetic as well. But at the same time, there can be no genetic reasoning why something happens. You may come from a family, you may be a girl and come from a family where the women have really small breasts, and that's okay. And all of a sudden, you start to develop not so small breasts. Or for boys, like my brother and his 3 chin hairs, maybe his kid one day will have a big burly beard like Mr. Brown as well, but that's just how it goes. I want you to know that whatever's happening in your body at this time is exactly what's supposed to happen. Like, and I know that sounds silly, but nature's got its own stuff prescribed for you, and you're gonna get facial hair or you're not gonna get facial hair, and you're gonna get bigger breasts or you're not gonna get bigger breasts, and it's all like, whatever happens is 100% what nature intended to happen. There are some things that can be done and some hormones that can be taken to try to influence those things, but for the most part, whatever's going on in your world is exactly what's supposed to be happening right now. So the very first thing, or the primary thing that happens in puberty, is that estrogen or testosterone are released. Because of that estrogen and testosterone being released, other things happen in the body. For males, that tends to be that they grow facial hair, that their voice gets deeper, that their shoulders begin to broaden or get wider, that their muscles tend to develop. Males going through puberty tend to see a drop in body fat percentage. And whether they like it or not, their hairline begins to recede or start to go backwards. In females, those secondary things that happen because of estrogen being released is that breasts begin to develop, their waistline begins to narrow, while their hips widen. Hips widening is something that was seen as a positive for both carrying a baby through pregnancy and through childbirth. Body fat percentage typically increases in females. It's just the way it is. Are there some women that have very low body fat compared to the other women? Yes. Are there some men that will have more body fat than some women? Yes. But typically speaking, body fat begins to increase in females. And menstruation begins. Menstruation, we'll talk about the menstrual cycle. Menstruation is getting their period. So when a girl gets her period, it's called the menstruation through the menstrual cycle. And we'll talk more about that as time goes on. In both males and female, body hair begins to appear, armpits, pubic area, leg hair. For males, facial hair. For some women, facial hair. permanent teeth grow in. It's just a way that things go because hormones say that teeth need to grow. And perspiration or sweat begins to increase. So, knowing all of those things, and I'm going to post this image into Schoology so you can have it and you can add to it if you think there are things that need to be added to it. Things that you should consider: you should all be working out at least a little bit each day. So you're probably getting sweaty and the weather is getting nicer and nicer and nicer. You should be sure to shower at least every other day, more so if you're sweating. Using a deodorant or antiperspirant in your armpits. Some people may choose to use it in other places, but certainly in your armpits to try to eliminate the stink that happens. And then making sure you wash your face at least once every day and use a moisturizer, because having your face be too dry can lead to more acne. Somebody asked about that, and we'll talk more about acne as we go. I have a couple of questions. A lot of you have responded to my Google post yesterday for a question. Some things that I want to answer. I have a question that says, how long does puberty usually last? Typically speaking, most people are considered to be through puberty by about 17, 18 years old. Girls, obviously, first. Boys may continue to develop. Some males may go through a growth spurt or start a puberty growth spurt while they're in high school. My brother, who's younger than me by 3 years, when he started high school, I was a senior. I was in 12th grade. He was shorter than me by like 4 or 5 inches. And by the time that he graduated high school, he was taller than me by about 2 inches. I've recently watched the Michael Jordan documentary, and they talk about some of the different athletes who, when they went away to college, the summer between their first year of college and their second year of college, they grew like 5 or 6 inches, which is kind of insane, but it happens. So they just weren't done with puberty yet. So I would say 18, 19, 20-ish was when people finished going through puberty. Will my acne ever go away? I would love to say yes, but I don't know if you can tell. Mrs. Boyk has been having some acne struggles as of late. Some of this is related to stress, and some of it's related to the fact that I'm working out more, the fact that I'm sweating more, making sure I take care of my face. Some of it's related to the hormones that went along with being pregnant for a little while and now not being pregnant anymore. With a good skincare routine, it's likely that your face will chill out by the time that you're done going through puberty. Sometimes it may take a doctor intervention for all that. Sometimes it can be based on the foods you eat. If you eat greasy food or if you're eating not as healthy foods, that may cause some facial acne to be a part of your world. If it's really concerning to you, by all means, talk to a doctor. I just reviewed my list of questions that I got today, and I think that I answered some of them. There are some that fit in with different lessons that we're going to do the rest of the week, so I will save those for that. The point of puberty is to make sure our bodies are ready to have children someday. Certainly doesn't mean that we need to have children now. I am not 13 and 14 years old, and I just had my first child this past year. And it's a huge responsibility, and so you should think about that. But it is to get our bodies ready to go through puberty. I answered how long puberty lasts, why do we need to go through it. If you have more questions, please ask them. If you've not asked a question yet, make sure you go do that, because you are getting points for it. I will be able to tell if you didn't ask them. So let me know if you have any questions, and we'll continue this talk tomorrow.